Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video here. So here is my review for episode 18. Again, this will contain spoilers for the episode, so I guess I should warn you for that. This video will contain full spoilers for episode 18. Obviously, a lot of people have talked beforehand, a lot of early reviews have talked about this big death at the end of the episode and some other things, and so obviously I've watched the episode. I'm going to talk about all the big moments here, and I'm going to say this story is definitely a lot different than I thought it was going to be, and I think it's actually so much better, and I'm really hyped with how they're actually handling it. I think a lot of the early reviews that were saying that they're kind of concerned about how they're going to wrap all of this up here in however many episodes, I think it makes perfect sense with how they're wrapping everything up. After watching these first two episodes, I totally get it. Like, it makes sense with where they're all at right now. How things are going to wrap up eventually in the next, I guess we have 6 more episodes left, right? And not only that, you're sort of dealing with the Commonwealth arc here, but there's going to be obviously some sort of cliffhanger or spin-off setup, right? For the Rick Grimes show and all that stuff. So I think it makes sense. I think they could totally do that, especially if you have longer episodes and whatnot. So anyways, like I said, before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get more Walking Dead content like this. I will be doing reviews like this for every single episode. I'm going to be posting my review for episode 17 a little bit later. So yeah, just stay tuned for that. I also will be posting my episode 19 trailer breakdown that actually looked really, really incredible here. So yeah, let's actually break down the episode here. So obviously this one here really dealt with, the aftermath of 17 with Pamela, Lance, and everyone sort of coming together here. And I really like how this was paced. So episode 17 was really sort of the action stuff. It was sort of the transition episode from part 2 into this next final phase here. 18 really set up everything here in motion to where it really feels like, okay, now things are going to get really, really crazy here. Sebastian dies at the end. We'll talk about that soon, but Sebastian actually died. That definitely threw me off. And I mentioned that like a week or two ago when I first found out that there was going to be this big death or whatever. I talked about the possibilities of being Mercer, Lance, or Sebastian. And I even said, like, with Lance and Sebastian, Lance, that's shocking and would really be shocking for the story. But with Sebastian, that is actually going to be so shocking because, yeah, if you're a comic book reader, the stuff that he does at the end. So it actually would be so shocking to actually happen. So that's what happened here. Sebastian actually died. We'll talk about that and actually how that sets up the rest of the season. Because, yeah, really crazy move there. Daryl actually swears in this episode. So Negan got to swear in episode 17. Daryl got to swear here. Is that 2 of them, I guess? I guess they're only allowed 2 here. Maybe it'll happen a lot more. But the Walking Dead logo also was different during the opening sequence, and I really, really like that. It's actually sort of a remix of the very, very first logo in season 1. So they sort of brought back some of that blood and stuff and just really gave it this more refreshing feel. Honestly, I would have to say that this is probably my favorite logo to date. This looks incredible. It's sort of retro a little bit. I think it just looks really awesome. Pamela Milton tells Lance that his life is over at the Commonwealth, and this is where you get into some interesting CRM stuff. First of all, I really like the move that Pamela is basically sort of putting all the blame on Lance, just because it makes a lot of sense. From Pamela's point of view, first of all, we saw in part 2, she was pretty annoyed with Lance. What I really like about this episode and what it portrayed, Pamela as, is it really showed that she's not like the typical politician that we sort of expect. Like, there's actually a lot more there. She knows a lot more of what the Commonwealth are doing behind the scenes, right? And Lance even mentions at one point, and this is why I brought up the CRM. He says, like, if something happens to me, or if you don't, let me do what I normally do or whatever, certain stable factors or something, certain alliances that we have, there may be some problems there. Right away, I thought of the CRM. When you watch that scene, if you think of the Civic Republic, it fills in the dots. Like, it makes so much sense. So I really do believe that was set up right there. That line, I believe, was definitely set up for the Civic Republic. I really do believe, because of what Pamela Milton is doing to Lance, Lance is basically on his own and is eventually going to screw over Pamela Milton at some point to, alert the Civic Republic of certain things. And I think that's how they're going to be entered into the story here. Probably not for a few more episodes still, but it's coming. It's definitely coming here. So yeah, this was definitely a CRM reference. I'm so confident in it. I'm so excited about all this. Like I said, Pamela Milton allows them to stay. She sort of believes that Lance was the problem in all of it. And I guess I can't really blame her. It makes sense. I think from her point of view, it was sort of like, how do we deal with this the easy way? And that obviously was the easy way, right? So I think it makes sense to deal with it like that from her point of view anyways. We did get a scene of Carol and Lydia. That was a really awesome scene. Lydia was also with Daryl there. Stuff like that I really like because it's just like these little moments where you can sort of do some character stuff there, right? And they haven't seen each other in a while. You sort of calm things down a bit. So I liked that. I mean, obviously that scene was so overly happy and just positive, right? That definitely set up episode 19 and the craziness that's going to be there. I really cannot wait. And what I'm really excited about with 19 is that it's not just focused on that. We're actually going to be furthering the plot of some of the stuff at the Commonwealth. So again, a lot of people said that they're sort of worried about how they're going to wrap up the story here. I think it just makes sense with how they're going to do it. Like, I'm not that worried about it. Now, another plot here in the story was sort of Daryl, I guess, learning how to parent. That was sort of an issue that he had. And in this episode, you know, we see him, he takes Rick's gun, so we get that shot. That was really cool. There's a mention of Michonne. And basically, really, he's sort of having this issue with Judith. He sort of tells Judith at one point to just sort of stop, you know, just stop, I guess, worrying, stop bringing up all these issues, or I don't even know what it was, but basically just stop. And obviously that hurt Judith's feelings. Daryl talks with Carol after, and I love the fact that he sort of mentions Rick here. He's just like, I don't know how to do this. Like, what would he do? And Carol's like, well, Rick's not here. So I like that because it's like, yeah, well, he's alive somewhere. Like, he's out there somewhere. They don't know. But again, there was so much setup in this episode, little things like that, you know, with Lance mentioning there's certain alliances that they have. And then here with Daryl mentioning Rick and just the whole idea of like, I don't even know what he would do. Like, how would he handle this? Well, Rick eventually will be home and he's going to handle this. So we do actually see RJ. That was really awesome. He's reading an Invincible comic, so that's kind of cool. Invincible, like the comic series by Robert Kirkman, you know, it does sort of pop up here and there. That was kind of cool to have in this episode. Daryl puts his vest on, so we do see that. Carol and Ezekiel, you know, they actually have a scene together. They sort of talk about some stuff, so it's kind of cool to see them together. Negan and Annie, you know, they have a scene together. Annie doesn't want to stay at the Commonwealth. Negan wants to, sort of mentions his dad, you know, like his dad's like, well, once you have a kid, you know, your life doesn't really matter anymore. Basically, you're sort of living for your kid now, which I totally, like, I agree with. Doesn't matter what I want, you know, it's just what my child or what my children want. So it was kind of a cool moment because we actually had Negan mention his dad. I don't remember him ever talking about his parents ever. So I really like that. Really cool. And again, there's a lot of character moments in this episode. Definitely, I don't want to say a slower episode because it was not a slower episode, but it was definitely slower from episode 17. Calmed things down a lot, but really, you know, kicked things into high gear at the very, very end there. The other plot that was sort of going on with Pamela was she really wanted Sebastian to lead this place one day. And so she really wants him to give this speech. And he's just like the whole time having huge issues with this. And while this is happening, Ezekiel and Max are like, they're planning stuff. I had no idea what they were planning. It was kind of hard to see what they were trying to do there. But yeah, basically Max at one point, you know, records everything that Sebastian says about how horrible this place is. You know, the Commonwealth, basically it keeps the poor so that the rich can stay rich or whatever, all that stuff there. And then they play that during a wrestling match. First of all, really crazy to actually see that. There's heavy metal music playing. It was just nuts to actually have that playing. And at the same time, like, it's so crazy because everyone's kind of working together as that's happening. Because obviously Lance and the people, you know, Lance's group and stuff, they're sort of dealing with all that. And that's why there was walkers there. Because if you remember earlier in the episode, Lance had Shira, I believe her name was, and that other guy basically go and kill all those people. So there were zombies there, basically turned, I guess, sorry, not zombies, but basically turned everyone else into walkers. So there was all this chaos. And then Sebastian, obviously, after playing or hearing that tape play out loud, basically at the end here, it gets really nuts. And Max is sort of the issue here. Sebastian goes after her and this big fight happens, but Eugene basically kills Sebastian. Like, you know, the walker technically killed Sebastian, but Eugene ran and pushed Sebastian, or pushed the walker into Sebastian, or however, I can't remember exactly how it played out, but basically Eugene is technically at fault here. I mean, he was saving Max, But yeah, and then I really like the fact that when Sebastian was dying, no one helped him because, I mean, no one cares, right? No one cares about him. So crazy, like just a crazy scene. And to actually have Sebastian dead now, this really changes up so much. So again, really crazy episode here. You know, like so much stuff happened. So much stuff happened in this episode. I have all my notes here, and honestly, it just goes on for like ever and ever. I'm definitely going to be doing videos breaking down this episode throughout the week. So definitely hit subscribe if you want to get all my videos on that, because there's so much stuff to mention here. I just want to say, in terms of pacing after episode 17, they slowed things down perfectly, but they really they just filled in a lot of stuff, and I really like that. And then at the end, it just got really crazy, and now I'm so excited for 19, because Pamela Milton mentions in that trailer that things are going to get really, really hectic, really, really bad really soon. Yeah, and Sebastian's dead. I couldn't believe that. I also really like the fact that Judith technically put Sebastian down, and Judith's friend was so shocked by that, like just so shocked that she could do that. So yeah, just a really phenomenal episode. Honestly, I really enjoyed this episode. I would put this episode, honestly, throughout all season 11 as like probably one of the best. Like, this was just such a fun episode. Just the Rick mention, just everything that we got with every single character. It was so nice to have all of that, because there's so much story here, but basically everyone's kind of reunited at the Commonwealth right now. It's kind of cool to think, because in 19, obviously they deal with other stuff. The characters are going to be on the run again now. Some characters are going to be arrested. We know that's going to happen. So that's going to be crazy to see in 19. Afterwards, though, I mean, yeah, I guess they're going to go back to Alexandria to try to take that place over. So I think for the next however many episodes, it's going to be crazy like this. And I'm so hyped for that. I really am. So yeah, anyways, really, really phenomenal episode here. But I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post your thoughts down below on what you thought. Do you think that was a Civic Republic mention? I really do think so. Like, he mentioned certain alliances. It sounds so cryptic. I do think that was a Civic Republic. And what do you think about Sebastian's death? Do you agree with it? Or do you wish that we get other things? Honestly, I'm totally fine with it, just because we can't really get the comic ending anyways, right? Like, there's no way they can do that. Rick's not there. They're not going to kill off any of the main characters. I think it makes sense to sort of do something different here. So I'm really excited and intrigued in what they're planning on doing here. I want to see what Angela, King, and Gimple and them sort of came up with here. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.